Hello and welcome to the Fire Officer Project podcast, a show where we will discuss and learn together about topics specific to the American Fire Service. Come along as we explore areas such as firehouse traditions and culture, the fire family life, leadership, as well as getting yourself ready to be the company officer. This show is for everyone from the rookie firefighter to newly promoted officers. I'm your host, Mark McCurdy. Now let's get on with the show. Hello and welcome back to the Fire Officer Project. This will be episode 10, a combination of my intro, a little side bonus episode, and now we're at 10. I know it's been a while since I recorded anything, so this is going to be more of an update show, plans for the future, and just so you take something away with you, I got a little bit of a question we're going to go over that was sent to me on Instagram. Hope you enjoy the show. Hello, welcome into the Fire Officer Project. This will be episode 10. And today what we're going to talk about is more of an update. It's been a minute since I've put anything out. So an update of what's been going on, plans for the future, and to also give you a nugget that you might take away with you is a few weeks ago I asked on questions on Instagram what topics or things you wanted me to discuss or at least put on the radar for the future. And I got quite a few questions there. So I'm going to tackle one today and I'll bring that up at the end. But just so you know, I'm going to have a little bit of something for you. It's not just about hey, look at me and what's been going on in my life and everything's a mess, but not really. So what's been going on is a lot of stuff, right? Everybody's busy. There's always 100 things going on, whether it's work-related, family-related, just life things. And the older I get, the more I become appreciative of basically just waking up every day. There's been a lot of stuff going on in our department recently where we've had, unfortunately, people pass away and it just seemed that this past 8-9 months, it's happened pretty regularly. So just one of those stresses and you start thinking like, oh man, I'm going to be 47 this year. And it's like every day I wake up, you're like, oh, now I finally realize when you're young, it's like, it's another day. I'll do it tomorrow. What if that doesn't happen, right? So I finally hit that curb where you go over that hill where you say, hey, if I was to finish today, would all the stuff be done that I wanted? Of course not. But I kind of have that mindset. Now, we're never going to have everything completed. That's just life. So, but I try not to put off things I can do tomorrow. And that isn't projects. Like right now, I'm painting my one daughter's room. Okay, I need to fit that in on work. Otherwise, it's going to get taken forever. But do you think if something happened that that's what people think about? Not necessarily. So I'm going to talk about some family stuff and some other things are going to open up the topic. So as you listen to me blab in here and talk, maybe it triggers a topic that you want me to talk about, and then I'll leave you all my contact information. I'm starting to get more interaction with people, which is good. And then I'm going to explain what my next step is with this whole plan. So where I'm going to take it, where I've seen it adjust, and where things have kind of shown themselves to light what I could possibly do with this. So since starting this back in July, by the time I get everything going and all these things I'm going to talk about, it's going to be a year. And I know that's long, but not long for something that's new, a hobby or a side project. So I don't know. I'll keep moving it forward, but maybe I have an idea that you want to listen to. So I might change the format here a tiny bit. All right. So what's been going on? So work-wise, it's the norm, right? I work in Southern California. Hasn't quite started getting warm here yet. Finally, we got daylight savings like everybody else, or if your state does that. So we kind of have longer days, which is good. Doesn't seem like it's dark at 5 and the day's over. So that part's cool. But for our department, right now, we're getting ready for annual inspection. And that kind of varies when it gets done, but it used to be in the fall, and then it got kind of switched to the new year. COVID has messed it up, at least in my division. So we're in that mixed right now. And so for an annual inspection, if your department doesn't have it or if you've never been around it, we're talking the assistant chief, so the next level up from us for a battalion chief comes, does a thorough inspection. It's anywhere from 2, 3, I've had inspections as long as 7 hours. And they basically come and look at everything top to bottom not only the apparatus, the personnel, the station, the records, all the stuff. So it's kind of your time to shine, and the station looks great and the equipment all looks great. And then we have quarterly inspections throughout the year to try to get ready for this one where all the categories would come into one. So you kind of see how that works. So we're in the midst of that right now. We're actually in the midst of having the inspection. So when you're working overtime somewhere, you kind of have to pay attention if, oh, is that their inspection day, or it's the day before? Because the day before is the day that sucks. Everybody complains sometimes about the actual day of inspection. To me, it's always been the day before because there's so much stuff that could be left behind, and then you get calls and yeah, whatever. So that's what's going on there. So when I have all that and then trying to work and overtime and a few other things I've been doing, I've lacked on this category, which I don't really want to do because I enjoy it. And I'm seeing some of the good that's coming of it. So I'm trying to make it all work. So just in my station alone, we've already had our inspection, which is good. The guys did awesome. Guys and gals, they did awesome. Our station had a great inspection. The chief was very happy. Kind of use this as an example for our division, which is great. And ultimately, that doesn't come from myself or the captains necessarily. Now, we've talked in the past about expectations. And there is that expectation, but you also have to have the right group of people that want to meet that expectation. Otherwise, you're just pushing people constantly. Hey, do this. Hey, do this. So if you already have those self-motivated people, you're constantly going, well, am I pushing them too hard? Is this too much? You're always thinking about that stuff. But when they have that moment to shine or show, or literally, like the captains, and at least in our job, make sure that all the office stuff is done, all the things are coordinated, but it's the engineers on our job that make sure a lot of it, and the firefighters, that make sure a lot of the things get done. The rig, the station, and the captains pretend like they're doing something other than sitting in the office and letting them run the show. We're giving them that ownership. Now, I like to be out there. I'm still into it where I'd be down with polishing diamond plate and doing all that. But if I don't have the stuff that I'm responsible for, what is that doing, right? So I need to make sure that's all done. All the records, all their information needs to be up to date. Paperwork, all that things. And then I come out and do the little touches of things that I want to do, especially in the cab of the rig or the station, specific areas that are just, we all collectively work together and that's a team. So that part's cool. But besides talking about inspection stuff, on the daily, on our crew, I have an engine and a truck in my station, 3-person engine, 4-person truck, and we have the BC. But for us, in our little world that we control, out of the 3 firefighters I have, 1 assigned to the engine and 2 assigned to the truck, 2 of them are first spot probationary firefighters, which means they're limited on that they can drive, maybe their experience. I have 1 person who already worked in another department for 4 years. So the way they operate is a little bit different than the person I was brand new. But they're both still first spot probationary people. Have to learn the department way this way, and I still have to, me and the other captain, have to make sure that they're doing what they need. They got drills they got to do, tasks. We got to sign off paperwork, make sure they're learning the whole career thing and the whole job. So that takes some time, and we have to constantly balance not just focusing on them, but also your engineers or your drivers or people that are getting ready to promote or your senior firefighters in the shift. So it's this constant balance, and it's always in my head bouncing around like, okay, we take care of the boot stuff, but that's just one portion. We still have to help the other people because they're putting a ton of effort into the recruits, even when we're not as captains. I see them constantly doing things on the side with them that is mentoring, but then we have to continue to make sure we're not just running out of gas and going, oh, just the boots are driving me, into the ground because we got so much to do. Constantly got to fight against that and make sure you're helping all of your crew. And don't forget about yourself. So there's a lot. You constantly got to look at yourself too. If you're going to keep promoting. So yeah. So what else have I been doing? On the side now, we're in that spring season, just about to be summer. That's the time when our department starts to put on some classes. So been helping a few days teaching at, for the state of California, company officer classes. So Command 2A, it's a class that you take prior to becoming a captain, or you can take it after being a captain. It's just towards a certificate. And then eventually they're going to make these classes mandatory if you want to promote the chief. So kind of helping out in there, doing a little bit of lecture work. We just promoted, I think it was 20, 25 captains. So doing the same thing, going to that Captain's Academy and doing a little lecturing there, which is good. And then for us here in Southern California, even though they say it's year-round fire season, true, it just rained a couple days ago. So it's got to dry out. But sooner than later, obviously, it's going to be 105 here in the shade, and we're going to be right into fire season pretty hard and heavy. So we're ramping up and going through our IRPG book and 10s and 18s and dusting off all the cobwebs of the wildland side of our job. Fortunately, been able to catch a couple jobs at work. A couple house fires, attic fire. I was on the truck one of the days. Crew did great, cutting a hole and doing truck work and some salvaging overhauls, all good stuff. So been staying busy, basically what I'm saying. And in between all that, that's just work. What's more important? My family stuff. So been a lot going on with that, and then trying to figure out what I want to do with this project, because I'm still motivated to do it. It's actually motivating just from hearing from people. It like gets you going, and then I look at the little counter on how many episodes have been downloaded, and that's just constant right there, motivation. And if you're not following on Instagram, I'll give you the Instagram account at the end, but the other day I hit 2,500 downloads out of 9 episodes. I mean, that's cool. I know it's not a bunch because you got these big hitters that are, 1 million downloads or 100,000, but to me, or some clown that's over here just making up stuff and talking into a microphone and passing on some knowledge, that's pretty cool. In less than a year, I think it's neat, but I want to push it a little bit farther. And I'm just not trying to get to a certain number and that justifies what I'm doing. It's just motivating seeing it. And then I'll explain some other plan I have going on that might switch gears a little bit and push this thing forward. So what's going on as far as family stuff? I don't know if I've mentioned it much in here, but if you follow the Instagram, you've seen I have 2 girls. They're both big into softball. My wife was a softball player all through college. And now she's the coach of 3 of their teams, because one of them plays on 2 teams that are kind of part-time throughout the year. And then she plays her season. And then my oldest daughter, she's a coach there too. So my wife not only works part-time, she's a physician assistant, so she's way smarter than me. Before kids, she worked full-time. Both of us worked like crazy, right? Before kids, and then kids come and you need to adjust if you want to be around. So, yeah, not too bad. I'm not complaining at all because I've given her that opportunity to not work, and I kind of see what she's talking about. For those of you that have gone to paramedic school or done something in this fire service career where you're like, oh, I'm never going to give up that cert because I worked so hard to get it. That's pretty much why, even though I mention it to her and she tells me I don't want to stop working, I can see why. I mean, being a physician assistant is pretty crazy. It's like medic school on steroids. A year of classroom and then a year of didactic and going to different places. And I think it might even be a little bit longer now, but she's been doing it for quite a while. 16 years, I think now. So probably even longer. I think that's right. 16. So either way. But the plan is when I retire, she's retiring and she can maintain her cert and maybe be online or whatever. But anyways, we'll get there. So she works. And then for those of you that are married in a relationship, whatever, you see that, especially when you have kids, there's the term fire wives or fire family, whatever, that's going around. And it's not like it hasn't been around. I think it just has a name to it now. And it's crazy because I work 4 overtimes a month voluntarily. So my 10 shifts a month plus 2 a pay period, which is kind of normal, especially in our department. Or you have a side job or you teach in an academy or a college. You got a lot going on, right? You're not necessarily just doing your 10 days a month if that's what your schedule is. 40-hour, different, but whatever works for you, you're doing. Or maybe you're voluntold into doing. But so that almost takes me out of the picture half the year, voluntarily. Plus we get mandated and mandatoried and recalled and all this stuff. So for us, recalls. Recall is what it is when we get mandatory. I keep using the word mandatory and then I get static from people saying, you're using the wrong term. Well, you guys know what I mean. And then I realize I'm saying the wrong damn thing too. So I'm trying to be universal, I guess is what it is. So you get it. They basically tell you you're not going home. Okay, cool. Not only are you paying me, but great. The plans I had are in the toilet. So my whole point, circling around here, is the people that are at home taking care of your family, they're almost like part-time single mothers or single father, whatever it may be, whatever your setup is. I mean, that's hard on them alone, plus family stuff and kids stuff and sports and all the things, right? And sometimes that's where I have really hit in the last 6 months or so, seeing how big my girls were getting, how fast, realizing when somebody told me, oh, your daughter's what, 11? Okay, so you have 6, 7 more summers with her before she's going to be gone. I'm like, holy shit, what? When you say it like that, that kicks it into gear that every day is precious. So every day I'm home, like this stuff gets put on the back burner because right now I'm doing this episode. My wife's at work. The kids are at school. I got to go pick them up in about 25 minutes because it's a short day. I got to squeeze it in because what happens? Excuses are like assholes. Everybody's got one, right? You don't need that. You got to keep doing what you're doing because, like I said, this weird thing goes in my head like, oh, what if I don't wake up tomorrow? Is the world going to miss me? Nah. You guys might miss me for a second, the people that know me. Have a beer for me and keep moving forward, right? That's what I constantly say. Keep moving forward. Keep going. But, so as I talk about family stuff, relationship stuff is big, right? Let's see. I don't necessarily want to go down that road. I got a lot of stuff going on at home that can be stressful. So what do we talk about? Mental health. Mental health stuff that hits you from all angles, not just what trauma we see at work, but when you realize your parents are getting older, and that's what I mean by like I have stuff going on. Right? Our parents are getting older if you're fortunate enough to have them around still. And you look at that and you're like, damn, I got to make sure I really am around and pay attention and call them, right? Call your mothers, call your dads just to say hi. Fix those relationships with people that might be bumpy because to me, it sucks ass. Like we just went on a call the other day where 20-year-old kid dead, overdose on fentanyl. And I know this is an epidemic everywhere, but I don't know. You look at that stuff and every time I see it now, I think back like, God, how many dead people have we seen? And what fractures happen when those people are gone? So I don't know. I just want no regrets, right? No regrets. So trying to mend all these little things and not be pissed at things that are stupid and or small and minimal. So it's funny because I'm saying this out loud, but I'm also teaching my kids at the same time because they're getting in that preteen, adolescent stresses of shit that they don't realize isn't that important, but you kind of have to just accept and understand what they're saying, but try to explain to them at the same time that, you know what, in 10 years, it's not really going to be important, but to them, it's the world. I'm learning, especially with girls, right? So I don't know. I grew up with a brother and we used to poke each other in the nose or wrestle or throw shit at each other. And it's like, I can't do that right now, but I try to make them tough at the same time, right? My oldest one's underneath the car with me showing how to change oil, and I show her how to change a tire and stuff because who knows who she's going to bring home one day. I constantly point out to her like, if you bring that home, they're not walking in the front door. Hey, kid with the PJ pants. Yeah. Turn around and go change your clothes. You're not taking my kid out like that. All this shit that goes in my head that I'm just thinking like down the road. You're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? So anyways, what I'm talking about is we all have this family stuff. We all have the work stuff and we love it both. And we try to keep it balanced. And then when you look at it, you go, well, I want to promote and I want to keep going on. And how do I do that? And I need to find somebody to help me, or I just want to know and I just want to do right. When I see the Captain's Academy guys, they're brand new. They got their bugles on. They're happy. But the day I came in was the day after they just talked to human resources. So basically they were paralyzed with, I can't do anything. I can't even get rid of a person that sucks, that's on probation, because they just paralyzed the shit out of these new captains and said, oh, yeah, basically you can't do anything. And if you say things wrong or look at them wrong, you're in trouble. Now, my job the next day was to kind of weed through that and show them, where does that really interject? Because if you thought that was all of it, we're not even talking about the first time you go on a house fire and you're brand new sitting in that front seat. But so a lot of stuff's constantly going on. Mental health thing was brought up because when I was teaching the Command 2A class. One of the persons taking the class was one of our peer support. We have a lot of peer support people, but they happen to have a dog in there, and it's kind of cool, right? Because everybody sees a dog and they're like, just want to pet a dog, especially this cool lab. And it was brought up like, hey, whenever you get it together, in a nice way, you said that, and you want to do interviews, I'd really like to talk about the mental health. And I'm like, me too. So I'm going to interject God, what's going on today? I'm going to inject in some of these episodes where I talk about mental health here and there, because sometimes it triggers something that I just saw a day or two before, and then I come in and talk here, and then it's still on my mind, just like probably all of you have experienced that too. It sticks in your mind. And I don't necessarily want to go down that path right now, because that's not what I'm talking about right now. I'm just talking about we're all kind of the same. Busy at work with the fire stuff, busy at home with family stuff if you're there or you're, in that realm. That's just where I'm at. So, but I remember the days when I was single, you still were busy. It was just me and my buddies going out and having lunch and hanging out before I had kids and a wife and all that stuff. But that was then. I'm in this chapter now. I'm in the thick. A lot of us are. And it's just good to, whatever. I'm in that zone. So anyways, what I'm talking about is I'm going to focus on you now. So I'm focusing on you because if you're listening to this, you're listening to it for a reason, not because you couldn't find something else to listen to. It's a niche, right? We're talking about promoting, taking it to the next level, all those things. So I don't want to think small anymore. Starting out, you got to think small because I don't want to go nuts, but really the barrier to entry on this isn't that much. I already have a laptop. I ordered a microphone, and I wrote all this crap down in my head that's on a piece of paper. And then you start social media, and then you start connecting with people, and they give you ideas, and they tell you this and that, and you bounce things off of people, and it just starts taking off, slowly building like a snowball. So, number one, thank you for stepping out there to listen to me and then interacting. But now I want to show you what some of my ideas are. So when you look at it and you go, okay, this is just a person that I download on podcasts and I listen to, but what do they really do? It's just advice and you're driving to work, and maybe I throw a thing out there that you might try something different. Cool. But can we take it a step further? I think yes. So I'm working on right now is establishing an LLC, because that's just something to do. Makes you look a little bit more legit. Getting a tax ID number from the IRS makes you a little more legit, because if somehow there was some monetary thing attached to it, I'll just do it now. If it never pans out, I don't care. I'm not doing it for the money, because I could go work in overtime or get a second job somewhere, since every place is freaking hiring. That's not what it is. But I want to establish what a true potential business down the road is. Potentially. So if it all falls apart, really it's not that big of an investment. Currently working on a new logo. I have a person working on that. And as of today, they've had it for about a week. They're supposed to get some of the preliminary things, and I think they're doing a couple. So maybe what I'll do is once I get them and do a little tweaks to them, I'll kick them out to you, and you tell me which ones you like, or maybe I'll just keep them all and I'll just send them out to you, and you can tell me what you think. So also working on a website where it allows me to collect emails, because that's pretty much how we see things, right? It's all about data collection and emails, but it's also about notifying, because you got to have as many avenues as you can to notify people of things. Not everybody's on social media. Sometimes it doesn't get shown to them based on algorithms, and things can get missed. So I'm trying to find that's not that hard, right? Website you can build yourself. There's so many companies. I'm working on the website, a way of notifying people, maybe a typed out blog, a way to link all the podcasts to, and then maybe events when I start doing things. That's down there. So if I was actually to say like hands-on events, that's a little ways out still. My main focus is going to be on the LLC, tax ID, website, and then this next level is actually setting up time to meet with people. Now, we've had 2 years of realizing you can't see face-to-face with people, and everybody's gotten really good at Zoom or all these meetings, Teams meetings, however you're doing it. And that's what I'm going to set up. So I've been doing a bunch of research on how people do coaching businesses. And I'm not necessarily starting a coaching business, but I like the concept of how they do things, because I'm not asking people for money. I'm just saying, hey, how do you start that? And one good point that I saw in multiple different things was setting up an appointment calendar that you can send to people that you say, okay, like today, I had from 8:30 till noon where I'm just doing stuff at home, but it's not time sensitive. I could set up my appointment calendar. Somebody could click on it and say, let's talk at 10:30. And I'll keep a slot open there. It'll be 10:30 to 11. It works for you because you're home, or maybe you're at work and you have time or whatever. And then I see it, boom, it pops up. Hey, okay, meet this person, send them the link. And then we talk for a half hour. A little more personal. We can see face to face on a camera. We could be across the world, right? You don't have to be next door to each other. So I really want to run with that. So what you'll anticipate seeing is, and I'll send it out on Instagram, and then I'm going to figure out with the website and email lists and everything, this appointment calendar that I'm going to put out there. And it could be, I don't care. It doesn't mean that you're taking the captain's test anytime soon, or you're promoting anytime soon. We can just talk to talk about anything, about getting ready to promote, what it looks like, opinions, bounce things off each other. So I'm going to set up that appointment calendar. On the side, from my personal development, like I said, I've been doing a lot of research just on how these people set up their businesses. But I'm also taking classes myself on, well, you call it coaching, but it's like giving advice. But how do you say it directly? And how do you ask people questions? So it's more of the psychology of it, the way of getting your point across. Because I remember when I was taking fire department tests, and I think we were all nervous, but I was extra nervous and like not necessarily introvert, but just shy. And it sucked until I took a speech class in college, and that really helped me. And then I took another class on just how to do the speaking part of an interview for the fire department, and took tips away from looking more confident and walking in the door and just adjusting the chair when you come in to show that you're like, okay, I'm putting the chair where I want. And it wasn't like you moved it 2 feet closer or any of that weirdness, but you just, okay, you didn't look like the nervous person coming in constantly. So anyways, what I'm talking about is I'm taking specific classes on how do you coach people? How do you ask them questions that gets them where they need to be without them even knowing that you're doing that? And on leadership, I'll be talking about this the rest of my life. So I'm taking specific classes and online, and I'm trying to look for classes around. So if you know classes that are up for your department, like there's a dynamic person in your job that does a speech and everything, please let me know and send it my way, because I would love to attend and just be a fly on the wall or sit in there as a student and listen. So those are all these things I've been working on, and it rattles around in my head, and then I write it all down, and I finally go, okay, so where am I basically trying to get to? The appointment thing on the setup on the calendar is going to be big, because I'm going to see, number one, if people are interested. Number two, make more connections with people, try to guide some people, and they tell me some things. And if we just want to talk about podcasting or life stuff or work stuff or but dude, whatever, I'm down. I'm just going to set that up, and I'll be open to it. And if my phone pings and it says somebody wants to talk and we set up a meeting, awesome. Like I said, not charging anybody to do it. But what I will do is, if that actually starts taking off, is I'm going to develop it out even farther. And then as far as actually taking on clients under my wing and saying, okay, if you really, really want to know more than what I actually put out here or at a faster pace, then let's set up something where we'll exclusively work with you. Once a week, twice a week, meetings, if you're close in the SoCal area, physically meeting up. And I'll take that on as like a client, basically. And realistically, 2 to 3 people is probably all I want to start out with, and meet like that and see where it goes. Free of charge. I'm not charging anybody. I'm trying to learn if this is going to actually be something that would be worth it, because I almost like that better than trying to put out physical classes, because just the times I put out physical classes, it's difficult, because up until the night before, people, I can't make it. I got mandatory or recalled, or my kid's vomiting or whatever. And that's just hard. So it's not that it affects me, because I still have people. I've had classes where 10 people show up and then 25, and that's cool. That's what it is. Mostly of those are from people when I do classes at work, getting them ready for their actual physical part of doing the job. But it's still on the back burner of in-person classes. I just need to start at step A, actually making this more of a legit type business thing, and then starting out the right way. I don't want to do all this stuff and then go, you know what? I need to come back around and do it the clean way. So that's what I'm talking about. So the main thing is setting up the calendar, meeting with people, taking on, and then eventually taking on people. So if you're interested in that now and you know that's what you want, then hit me up on Instagram or email, and I'll leave all that here. And it's going to be at the bottom link into the podcast itself. So wherever you click play, scroll down to the bottom, and I'll have a thing that connects you to either to the Instagram account or the email, and you just shoot it to me and say, hey, yeah, I'd be interested. Let's talk. So there you go. I'm also interested in, as I learn about speaking and storytelling, basically, and developing and how you come across the people, speaking engagements. I'm down with coming to your department and saying, hey, you want me to talk to the new captains? Not that I know necessarily policy-driven stuff that's with your department, but those are things that down the road I'd like to do. I could do one now. I have a set program of what I could do, but that's also something I'm interested in doing. And like I said, right now, I don't expect money for it. You can't ask for money on something that isn't proven or that even nobody has word of mouth of. So I'm giving myself a couple of years at least before I would even ask anything. So take advantage of it if you want. I'm open to it. Those are kind of the things that are going to be happening. So look for the fact that I'm going to have a new logo coming out, and depending on how this person kicks it back to me, I may ask for your opinion if it's something I wrestle with. But I look at a lot of things like the details and things on those, so I really like that. But anyways, either way, if I don't ask for opinions on it, then I'm at least kick it out to you soon, and you'll see. If I pick one and you're like, hey, change this or that, then maybe I'll still do that. But where was that? So yeah, I'm going to do that, and then the website, and then setting up the calendar. So once I get this website going, and then appointment calendar, LinkedIn and everything, I'm going to be blasting it out more, doing another follow-up podcast, but then mostly putting it out on social media stuff. So, all right, I think enough about me. I've been talking for a half hour. You're like, this show sucks because you're not talking about anything important. But before I leave, I wanted to at least bring up one topic. So a few weeks ago, I asked the questions like, what topics do you want me to put out? And I just put it on Instagram stories, and I got some replies, which is good. I appreciate it. I screenshot it. I wrote them all down. I put it to my list of things that I'm constantly adding to as far as information for topics. And this one came from AK Firefighter on Instagram, and his topic was, how do you deal with working in overtime with a crew that is used to a captain that has lower expectations? I said, oh, that's a good one. Now, the way it's framed is working in overtime. So let me guess how I would do it. In overtime, 24 hours for us, you're that substitute teacher or you're filling in. And I'll put it as far as it's at a different station, right? So even if it's your own station, it doesn't really matter, I guess. It doesn't really matter the more I think about it. But you're working with a completely different crew, and you're the odd person out. You're not normally on that shift or that station or both. And so how do you deal with that? Well, you're only there for the 24 hours. I think a future episode will be 24 hours versus how do you straighten that out when that's your new assignment or your temporary assignment, or you're going to be there for a few months or whatever. But on a 24-hour overtime, most likely your reputation has already been set before you even walked in that door on that overtime. People know who you are in your department, especially a smaller department, but even in a bigger department, because I work overtime in my battalion, my division, or even my region of the department. And for the most part, if you've been there for a minute, they know who you are. They may not know every little detail about you, but all of us carry around a reputation of what we already are before you walk in that door. If you have a reputation that you know you're going to hear about it, and some people don't like you because you're stern, or you have this strict procedure, or you expect them to be in uniform by a certain time, don't change it for that 24 hours just because you're working with a crew that doesn't have that same experience or expectation or isn't led by that same type of person. Run your program. Because I guarantee if it's a station where the people know they have a slug person they can get away with stuff, one of those people isn't 100% on board with that. And they're going to see the difference in you when you come in and do things a little bit differently. And the way you know that happens is when you've done it enough times and that person comes to you and asks you for advice. Or just like, what do you do this for? What do you do that? I stick to my guns, and sometimes it can be hard. And constantly I tell people when they're promoting, prepare to be uncomfortable, because that's what's going to happen. You're going to feel uncomfortable sticking to your guns. It's okay. Do it. Now, if you're just a complete jerk off and you just like to beat up on people and flex and say, I'm the captain because I'm the captain, then you're being stupid. But if you're running a program that's a type ship that you know is because it comes from the bottom of your heart because you care and you run that program, run your program. The way you do lineup, the expectation, and give them the expectation. It's not a democracy on some of the things. You're in charge for a reason. Be in charge. Don't come down heavy-handed and be like, you're yelling, screaming, and pounding your fist on the table. You don't need to. You do your lineup appropriately, 8 o'clock or whatever it may be the time frame. Give them everything they need to know. Ask them questions specific to their area, their department, or their station, or how they run things on a normal basis. I'll ask people all the time, do you guys have an SOP, SOG that you stick to? And then you'll see people like look around at each other. Oh, well, yeah, I mean, kind of. So I let them tell me. And then I fill in the holes on things that I may want, if there's any holes. Or I go, hey, cool, I like it. You guys are on board. But if they give you the, we'll just figure it out when we get their speech, nope. That's your foot in the door to go, okay, all right, sounds good. Here's what I like to do. And you give your SOP, SOG expectation. I've talked about it in other episodes, but it's kind of a breakdown on, what I expect at structure fire, apartment fire, all those things like that. And then line out the day a little bit, especially if there's time-sensitive stuff. If there's time-sensitive things that you're getting an email from the chiefs that say you have to have it done, don't put it off. It's time-sensitive. Tell them it needs to be done. Get it done. So let me look at my notes here to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, so it looks good. So everything, like I said, I don't need to keep beating a dead horse here, but don't change. Now, if you don't have those set XOPs, SOGs, a set framework to your day, well, that's fine. We just need to work on that together. And I don't, whatever. I'm saying you need to find somebody to help you, or I'm totally willing to do that based on what I had already talked about previously. But it's not that difficult, right? It's not like I'm saying earth-shattering things here. Just have an idea of how you want to run the day. Because ultimately, even though people don't like to admit it, they do like structure, framework, and somebody to be in charge. Now, yes, type A personalities of the firefighters, but own it. If you're the lieutenant, the supervisor, the captain, whatever, be that person. That's what you were given the bugles for. Somebody thought you were ready to go. Own it. And then you just have to learn day by day. Now, if it's day one, yeah, it's going to be bumpy. I'm coming up on 6 years now, and it's still, I have to think about it when I go to a place and, okay, I know this person, they work for a slug. Sorry, it's out there. We're not all bitching firefighters, and I'm not saying I am, but I do care a little bit. You guys know the turds, the people that are just there for a check or have already checked out or whatever it may be. Well, you're not that person, I don't think, if you're listening to this. So, just give yourself, if you're new, I was mentioning this to the new captains the other day, give yourself time to be new. Don't beat up on yourself because you don't know something. You're going to say the wrong thing on the radio. You're going to give a crappy size up. You're going to be on the wrong channel. You're going to be all over the place. Give yourself time to be new. But just learn each day. One little thing. You're going to go work for that place where you're like, that they work for a slug and they're not that motivated, and you might want to fall into that trap. Now, I'm not saying come in there with guns a-blazing and try to shake things up. Just don't deviate from your program just because that's what they're used to. Do the right thing. That's it. That's all there is. But if there's a different opinion or think that something's different, then let's talk about it, have a discussion. But I'm going to send that out again here and there and get people's what they really want. And then it's definitely going to be more helpful once I get everything going in this program and we actually start interviewing people. So I got that on board too. So to wrap it all up, you heard my little rant or my explanation of what's going on, life. All of us have a ton of things going on. In a nutshell, I'm not your therapist or your psychologist, but just be good to each other. It's so easy to be negative right now. It's just ridiculous. And it's probably always been that way, but it may just seems like it's just more and more right now. Maybe it's just where I'm at in life, but there's a lot to be thankful for. There's things that you can't control, but there's things you can. Control the things you can, and we're constantly working to get better. So if you're interested in maybe that client thing or that calendar thing or whatever, send me a message on Instagram. It's The Fire Officer Project, all spelled out like that, The Fire Officer Project on Instagram. Like I said, at the very bottom of on each episode, you should have a link to the Instagram account. It should be working and take you to it. On the Instagram account itself, there's Linktree at the top in my bio, gets you to the email. I'm working on the website, and I'm going to set up that calendar. Once I get the calendar thing set up and all this stuff going, I'll let you know. I'll put it on Instagram, and then I'll put it out there. And whenever you feel like you have time, click on it, and let's set up an appointment together. And just meet, talk, BS, help each other out, and we'll make this fire service a better thing. So, because one day we're going to be all done. And I don't want to have any regrets, right? No regrets. So I'm trying to put everything out on the table now, and let's all do it together. So, all right. Email thefireofficerproject@gmail.com. It's in the link at the bottom too. But in case you don't see it or in case I screwed up or the link breaks or whatever, thefireofficerproject@gmail.com. Thank you for your time. Remember, keep moving forward. I like to throw in there a little bit of do the right thing, but I think we all kind of try to abide by that as best we can. Until next time, when we meet, take care. Have a good day. All right. Thanks for listening to episode 10. As I wrapped that episode up and I had to take a break there to go grab my kids, just the way life is, I got a message on Instagram from a person, a very positive message saying, thank you for what you're doing. It really helped me on just calming down on my assessment center and thinking about things and coming up with plans. And that's great. I love seeing things like that, to know that this effort, it's not really a lot of effort. It's a little bit of time, but it's really not a ton of effort on my part. It's fun. So whether it's a hobby or it's something, I'm enjoying it. So if what you heard in the show is something that you want to do, take advantage of it. I'm going to be here. I don't plan on stepping away from this. I actually want to keep it going. So as you heard in the show, all those things are going to be coming. All the information to get a hold of me is on there. I hope you enjoy it, and have a good day.